So I have a problem. Ever since I got into Airsoft, I basically fell in love with revolvers. I loved the look of them, I loved the feel of them, just in terms of mostly looks, with how badass it looked, and the idea of standing out in an airsoft field. And so, I started becoming obsessed with wanting to have a revolver as my sidearm for airsoft. Now, everyone knows like air revolvers aren't typically their first choice for airsoft players as their sidearm, but for me, I just didn't. I didn't care. I just wanted it for the looks mainly, and to me, the whole purpose of a revolver was a backup weapon. So why not use that as an excuse to have as your last resort of defense, even if you only had 6 shots per se, or 24 in this case, which is basically the revolver that I ended up getting as my first airsoft sidearm. Now, I had to do a lot of research in terms of what type of revolver would work best for me, because the thing about airsoft revolvers is that most of them are CO2 powered. And you might be wondering, why didn't I go with a Dan Wesson revolver, the 715 version? Well, the reason is because in my mind, I don't like the fact that you cannot top off CO2. Say you're in a game and you shoot your revolver 50 times with your CO2 capsule, whatever, or however many times you play a few games, but then you're not able to top off your CO2 after in between games. So you're basically left to however many shots left in your CO2 capsule. Yeah, you can exchange it out and all that, but I just don't like that, the need to have to take open it up, screw a new one in, basically. So I just love the ease of green gas. That's just me. I just like having a can and being able to squirt some green gas in there, so I'm ready to go, topped off, ready to go. Also, due to the fact that the CO2, like, practically most CO2 revolvers are just way overpowered. They're shooting 400 feet per second. Most of them don't have any hop up, with the exception to the Dan Wesson 715. So yeah, I didn't like any of those options. I was hoping I could find a green gas revolver. So, and also that was practical enough for me to use. So my first stop ended up being the Tokyo Marui Python revolver, and this is the 6-inch version. I actually started off with a 4-inch version because that was actually one that I found in a local airsoft store of mine, and overall it performed pretty good, but I wasn't happy with it after a while because I didn't like the look of it, because in my mind having a silver revolver looked way more sick, and also because it was only 4 inches, I only got around 230, 250 FPS from it, which I wasn't very satisfied with. So, but also one thing I should mention that was good about it was that these Tokyo Marui revolvers, they had a capacity of 24 rounds, meaning you could put 4 in each of the grooves at the front here, and then you'd have 24 rounds based on how it's designed on the springs inside of the cylinder. It allows you to shoot 24 BBs before you actually have to reload, and then you just load BBs in the front with speed load or something. I loved this revolver so much, and when I finally got the 6-inch version, I was super happy. But it wasn't easy because I had to, no local store in my area had this, and I had to order it overseas. Now the thing you have to realize is I'm in Canada. And in Canada, you cannot order guns overseas, or at least import them, if they are shooting under 366 feet per second, which is where most airsoft guns, and especially Tokyo Marui guns, fall under. So what ends up happening is there is a way around this. If whatever store you're getting it from, if you request them to disassemble the gun for you. They send it to you in parts, and then you have to put the gun back together. That's basically what I did. And so I know I went through that. I went through a bit of the risk, right? But in the end, thankfully, it came together, and I got the revolver that I wanted. And it was shooting around. This one was shooting around 275 to maybe like 320 feet per second, which was perfect for me. And the fact that it had 24 rounds before I had to reload was what made this the most practical airsoft revolver, in my opinion, ever to be made in airsoft. And in my mind, I think it still is, to some extent. Now, I'll talk a little more about that in a bit. Now, I've had this now for, I would say, or at least I was playing this with this for about 3 years. And then eventually, just last year, it eventually started having issues. The trigger basically stopped working smoothly. And the cylinder, because of the trigger, it would not, the timing was messed up with the cylinder. And so it wouldn't line up properly. If you pulled the trigger too slow or too fast, the shots, the cylinder wouldn't line up with the barrel, basically, or the shells, or where the BBs were held. So I had to make a decision at that point. Did I want, unfortunately, the store that I originally got this from, that did the whole process for me, didn't have the revolver anymore. And when I tried looking at other websites, most of them were sold out, and there's only one that had it, but they wouldn't sell it. They would not ship it to me because they just wouldn't listen, or they wouldn't disassemble it for me, or whatever their reason was. So then I was like, okay, maybe it's time to move on to a real revolver, something that was full metal, that had only 6 shots, but maybe there's ways to make it even better. Now, keep in mind too is, so then what happened was I was doing some research again, and I still wanted it to be a gas revolver. I still wasn't really into the whole idea of a CO2 revolver for simplicity's sakes. So then I came across the King Arms Python revolver, which generally speaking, it looked pretty nice. It was pretty much the only option that was there for me to purchase. So in terms, because it was a gas revolver, it only had 6 shots, but it was full metal. And when you compare the King Arms Python to Tokyo Marui Python, it's a big weight difference. This is barely like a pound, and it's even lighter than my VFC USP pistol. But the King Arms Python revolver is like 2 pounds, and 2.5 pounds almost even. And even though it was only 6 shots, my plan was to make it into a shotgun revolver. And this idea was also inspired by Brain Exploder, who made revolver shotgun shells. You load it in the back and everything, and when you would fire, instead of just firing one BB, it would fire multiple BBs, so you could get a nice shotgun effect, better your chances of getting a hit, making the revolver much more practical. And if you had a CO2 revolver, you would decrease the FPS as well, making those revolvers useful now to use in a skirmish. So, and the King Arms revolver that I had, because again, there was the issue of feet per second based on the Canadian airsoft laws. So they actually, by whatever means, they amped up the FPS of it, because originally it would only shoot about 250 or 280 feet per second, I'm not sure exactly, but they amped it up to be above 366 feet per second. They even gave me the sheet to showcase that. So I got it, I did a review on it, and I was hoping to create it into a shotgun revolver, and then literally only a day after I got it, barely played with the gun, and didn't even get a chance to take it out to the field, and already it started having leaking issues. And you know, I had to wait almost 6 months for this revolver because I ordered it last year and I didn't realize that it was a pre-order item. They never mentioned it on the site. This was Octagon Airsoft, by the way, where I ordered it from. But so, even then, by the time I get it, it's already having leaking issues. And then I pretty much just like, it's leaking so much to the point where it's non-fixable at this point. And I'm just like, shit, that was like $200 right there down the drain. Like, little from 6 months ago, like to now, like all that waiting for nothing, you know? So that really sucked. And you know, I came back to this revolver for a moment, tried to fix the issue, and I actually managed to take the trigger from my 4-inch Tokyo Marui Python, and I managed to put it in here to fix the trigger issue. But unfortunately, even with this, with all that, because it's gone unused for so long, can't even use it now because the valve itself underneath doesn't even work anymore. So it's basically leaking gas badly. So this Python is pretty much a collection piece now. And again, I've been endlessly searching on the internet to try and find another one similar to this, but again, due to I kept running into the same dead ends as far as not able to import, not able to disassemble or whatnot, and now all I got here is a collection piece. So currently, my go-to sidearm right now is my VFC USP pistol here, which is semi-auto. It's not a revolver, obviously, but it was one of my favorite handguns from the Modern Warfare series, from Modern Warfare 2 and 3, and so forth. And you know, as much as I love the USP, it performs really great, and I can see myself using this for years to come. I'm still am obviously really disappointed, to say the least, that you know, even though I can't, due to my circumstances right now, I cannot own a reliable airsoft revolver that I like. And so all I can hope for is maybe I'll find something on the internet, maybe, you know, who knows, hopefully airsoft companies will look into making a new revolver that is green gas powered, that's reliable, even if it only shoots 6 shells, have it shoot like 400 feet per second. I don't care, because then I can actually turn it into a shotgun revolver or something like that. That would be really sick. I mean, I just don't see why at this point most airsoft companies don't bother to just make an airsoft revolver with green gas power. That's just my opinion. But you know what? That said, I love revolvers. I still do. Sucks it has to be like this. But let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. And especially given this is COVID-19, during the COVID-19 pandemic, I hope you guys are staying safe. This is Magic Naps here. Peace out.